Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This video is a Key Stage 3 crash course on the Crusades. If you have an upcoming assessment in my class or at your school, I hope this video will help you revise some important information for your history class. If you're not a Key Stage 3 student, welcome, but please be advised that the information here will be at the Key Stage 3 level and will not go too much into depth regarding the Crusades. And with that, let's get started. So what were the Crusades? What is the big picture here? To summarize, the Crusades were a series of religious wars between Christians and Muslims to secure control of holy sites, namely Jerusalem being the major site which was considered sacred by both religious groups. There were 9 Crusades in total. The period of these Crusades lasted approximately 1096 through 1272. But before we get into specifics about the Crusades, there are some key terms we need to go over first. Here's our list of 4 key terms. Up first, we have Holy Land, which consists of Jerusalem and parts of the surrounding area where Jesus lived and taught. Crusades, which is a series of military expeditions launched by the Church, Christian Europeans, to win control of the Holy Land back from the Muslims. Jerusalem, which is a city in the Holy Land regarded as sacred by Christians, Muslims, and Jews alike. And finally, pilgrim is a person who journeys to a sacred place. Since around 200 AD, European Christians have been traveling to Jerusalem to visit places written about in the Bible. All the Crusades that occurred between 1096 through 1272. Again, there were 9 Crusades in total that lasted a varying number of years. If you need to pause the video to write this down, please do so now. In history, we need to know the who, what, where, when, why, and how. We have already seen the when, but we need to move on to the who. And no, I'm not talking about the English rock band, guys. We need to run down on important figures or individuals that were involved throughout the Crusades. Up first, we have Pope Urban II. Pope Urban II sent out a call to all faithful Christians to fight in the name of God to win back the Holy Land. He promised forgiveness and pardon for all of the past sins of those who would fight to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslims and free the Eastern churches. This pardon would also apply to those who would fight the Muslims in Spain. While the First Crusade resulted in the occupation of Jerusalem from the Fatimids and consequent massacre of the Muslim population there, Pope Urban II actually died before he can receive this news. Our second important figure was Peter the Hermit. Peter was a French preacher who inspired thousands of people with his passion. According to the Alexiad, Peter attempted a pilgrimage to Jerusalem before 1096, but was prevented by the Seljuk Turks from reaching his goal and was reportedly mistreated. This specific experience caused him to preach inflammatory or not nice statements about the Turks to upset Christians. However, historians kind of have some doubts about whether he ever made such journey. Pope Urban II commissioned Peter to command an armed pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Before Peter went on his military expedition, he received permission from Patriarch Simeon II of Jerusalem. Peter was able to recruit from England, Lorraine, France, and Flanders. Peter the Hermit arrived in Cologne, Germany on Holy Saturday, April 2nd in 1096. Leading his crusade, he actually massacred Jews and Hungarians in Europe before ever reaching Jerusalem. Our next individual is Bernard of Clairvaux. He was a French monk that inspired people to follow him in the Second Crusade. News around this time from the Holy Land had alarmed Christendom. Christians had been defeated at the siege of Edessa, and most of the country had fallen into the hands of the Seljuk Turks. The Kingdom of Jerusalem and the other Crusader states were threatened with similar disaster. Deputations of the bishops of Armenia solicited aid from the Pope, and the King of France also sent ambassadors. In 1144, Eugene III commissioned Bernard to preach the Second Crusade and granted the same indulgences for which Pope Urban II had accorded to the First Crusade. This second crusade actually attracted royalty such as Louis VII as well as Conrad III. Yusuf ibn Ayyub, commonly known as Salah ad-Din or Saladin if you use the English pronunciation, was the founder of the Ayyubid dynasty. Hailing from a Kurdish family, he was the first sultan of both Egypt and Syria. An important figure of the Third Crusade, he spearheaded the Muslim military effort against the Crusader states in the Levant. At the height of his power, the Ayyubid realm spanned Egypt, Syria, Upper Mesopotamia, the Hejaz, Yemen, and Nubia. Under Salah ad-Din's command, the Ayyubid army defeated the Crusaders at the Battle of Hattin in 1187, capturing Jerusalem and re-establishing Muslim military dominance in the Levant. Although the Crusaders' kingdom of Jerusalem persisted until the late 13th century, the defeat in 1187 marked a turning point in the Christian military effort against Muslim powers in the region. King Richard I, or Richard the Lionheart, was an English king that won many battles against the Muslim armies but did not recapture Jerusalem. He did, however, negotiate a treaty with Salah ad-Din, which had reopened Jerusalem to Christian pilgrims. We can, of course, go on and on to name every single figure involved in the Crusades, but I want to leave some honorable mentions here. From Pope Innocent III to Edward I, various individuals have called for and/or led crusades themselves. You're more than welcome to pause the video to learn more about who these individuals were, but why were these people so important? And what does all this mean? The bloody, violent, and often ruthless conflicts propelled the status of European Christians, making them major players in the fight for land in Southwest Asia. The Crusades' most significant effect on Europe was that it contributed to the weakening of feudalism, to the development of centralized nation-states, to trade, and to the rise of the city. In southwestern Asia, it led to a great amount of death and the weakening and collapse of the Byzantine Empire. There is no question that the years of conflict brought about by the Crusades had an impact on southwestern Asian and Western European nations for many years, and still influence political and cultural views and opinions held today. To help you review for the Crusades, here is a list of questions I have developed that can provide some extra practice for your revision. In the meantime, thank you so much for taking time to watch this presentation. Please like and subscribe if you are interested in watching more Key Stage 3 history videos.